All right. Well, welcome back to Live Courageously podcast show number 16 and the first one of 2023. I'm John Duffy. I'm the creator and the host. And this show started in December of 2021 when I got the strong feeling one night to start a podcast show while I was in Calgary, Canada, filming and producing a film, Left Behind, with director Kevin Sorbo. Incidentally, Left Behind is airing in theaters this January 26th to January 29th. You can check it out on Phantom Events to find out where it's playing in your city. Anyway, I felt a strong need at that time to share the stories of some of the amazing, courageous friends that I'm honored to know and have in my life. And I chose the title Live Courageously because that's been the conscious theme of my life for the last 3 years since the beginning of the pandemic. And it's been an unconscious theme for most of my life. So if you haven't seen the previous 15 podcasts with some of my amazing friends sharing their powerful stories of overcoming all odds and going on to live their best lives, you can watch them on my John Duffy YouTube channel. I recommend you check them out and binge watch them. It's better than Netflix. Really, really it is. And you get free doses of inspiration and courage. So this show is about faith over fear. I believe fear is just a reaction and courage is a choice. And I suggest that you consciously choose courage to get through life and to deal with the many things that life throws at you in the future. So I encourage you to adopt the spirit of courage in the face of any and all fears. So let me introduce you today to my guest and a great friend, Lou Simon. Lou is somebody who has lived a very courageous life. Lou is a 20-year plus veteran in the entertainment industry with well over 100 credits to his name as a stuntman, a stunt coordinator, a precision driver, a second unit director. He's also acted in over a dozen films. And in the past several years, Lou has pursued his passion as a writer, a director, and a producer with projects that focus on what he calls an emotional journey. So Lou recently created and produced a 7-episode docu-series titled Game Ready. And he produced that during the period of COVID. And it's about a woman's softball reality series that can be found on YouTube today. You can find it just by going looking for Game Ready. And he had Tom Brady narrate one of the episodes on the docu-series. Lou has recently formed a nonprofit called Game Ready Enterprises and is building a third year of a women's softball summer softball league. Lou is also a husband and a parent, and we're going to discuss all that with Lou today. So greetings, Lou. Welcome to
Hey,
Live Courageously, my friend.
my goodness, what an intro. It's a lot of pressure on me there, John.
Hey, the pressure just starts, man. you know,
Wow.
well, welcome to the show. I mean, you've had a long and courageous life, and I'm honored and blessed to call you a friend and a brother. So I'm glad to
Hey,
have you kick off
ha-
2023.
happy 23, and thank you for the invite. Looking forward to it. We've known each other for a year or two, I guess, huh?
Yeah, it's been a while. We're going to get into where how long we've known each other in a minute. Matter of fact, I always like to start the show off with two things. One is, how did we meet? Do you remember the first time? What was the project that brought us together and started a lifelong connection between us?
Well, I think we met before 2001, but the first project we did together was 2001 on a movie called Outlaws.
Okay, was Outlaws the first one, or was Wasabi Tuna?
Outlaw was the first one. Wasubi Tuna came after.
You're right. You're
So,
right. See, your memory
um,
is better than mine. That's why I bring you on.
and it was with Michael Madsen as one of the stars on it, and it was certainly challenging. But hey, that's what creates forget memories and good friendship at the end of the day.
Right, and that was it was a very, very challenging, and that was the first one that brought us together. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the other, because we've done a series of other films together since then. We'll jump into that later. But the other question I like to start off the show, and then we'll get into your journey, is what does live courageously mean to you, and what has it meant in the previous period of your life, especially?
I was thinking about that right before we came on, the title of your show and the things that you do, and I think it's taken me what that word courageous means. it's taken me probably going into my late 20s to 30s to kind of understand even what the word is. It's never been something for me that thinking, okay, today I want to live courageously. I want to do that. I think it's just a matter of being fearless and going outside yourself to help others, and leave yourself behind it and see what you can do to help others. And with that takes a process, and it's that courageous step of going forward without fear of failure, or fear of attack, or fear of, oh yeah, I might do something wrong or offend somebody. I think it's all of those kind of things, of what that meaning courageously is. And I think everybody has a different way of living that life. I had my life, the way it was presented to me is different than what yours was or somebody else's. I think there's so many courageous aspects to life today, and people, especially with our technology today, we can see this firsthand with so many different people living courageous lives. So I think I'm just blessed to be where I'm at this moment, from the life that I started to where I'm at now.
Well, that's a good way to start it off. And maybe what you can share with the audience is a little bit of your life journey against adversity, where it started, who you are, who you became, and because you had some unique experiences. I mean, where you lived part of your life, and I'm going to put up a couple of pictures, was in a place I never even heard of. So, just take us a little bit about the beginning and some of the overcoming of adversity that you had to get you to be who you are today, Lou.
Sure. I was born here in LA County, and at 4 years old, I was sent to an island called Mauritius Island. For those that don't know where it's at, it's off the coast of Madagascar and right off of South Africa. It's a little dot in the Indian Ocean, and it's home of the dodo bird. So you have to figure out, what is a dodo bird? Go find it. And so to make it simply what it really is, it really was at that time an undeveloped island of like Hawaii. It was like an undeveloped Hawaii to what Hawaii was. And so it was an incredible time. I was there from 4 to 8 years old. And from sunrise, I was pretty much out checking out the island at 4 years old, 5 years old with friends. I went to school there a little bit. So that was for 4 years. And I came back to San Diego, lived there. And then I came back when I was about 8 years old. And this is, to me, is where the interesting part of my life really kind of begins, more on an emotional side of just that, oh, there's a curveball, so to speak, unexpected. And that's when I found out I was adopted. So at 8 years old, basically it was a discussion that happened in the hallway between my mother and my father, who I thought was my biological parents. And basically he said, hey, didn't you tell him I'm not his real father? At that moment, that's when I found out I was adopted. So, so after that sequence happened, I was sent back to Mauritius, probably for another 6 months or so. And I came back when I was early teens, and I came back here, back to San Diego, which eventually moved back to, and I came back to Orange County after that. So, but what's interesting about this island is it's predominantly French and what they call patois, which is broken French, which is like slang. So for those period of years, I learned that language from that early adolescent year. When I came back to San Diego, came back to the United States, I had that language. And so even though I was born here, then I ended up going to school speaking, kind of figure out what is English, what's French. And it was all that broken thing. So it was a very interesting, that first stage of my life was just that, who am I? Who do I belong to? What am I doing? So that was that first period of that whole thing. So.
Well, that's a unique, I mean, I put up a picture of the island, and like you said, it's off the coast of Africa and Madagascar. And, I know for myself, I had never heard of it until I met you and you shared your story with me. And I got a chance to know a little bit about, your background, and, you had a chance to tell me some of that. So, you had a unique upbringing and obviously a unique thing. And we met oh, I don't know if we didn't meet on it, but it was one project I know that you had put together, that you wrote, and you put together some early stuff called The Flip Side, which was kind of based on another part of your life and some of the things that you overcame, and you told it in that story. And I know it's a project you've kind of revisited, but tell us a little bit about that other challenge, because you didn't have a life of ease. Let's put it this way. It wasn't like everything went smoothly in life. And that's kind of why I love to hear the stories of people like yourself who overcome adversity to get where you get, because, you know, I think those are the things that inspire us, that, you know, it is about overcoming adversity to get to a place, and you have to overcome. So go ahead, tell us, the audience, a little bit about that, Lou.
Well, after I found out about the adoption, it created kind of a confusion state for me. Was like, well, if I'm adopted, then who do I belong to? And so it was very, and back in those days, we didn't have all the technology to say, let's start digging into, find out ancestors and different things. We didn't have the internet like we have now to be able to do some of the homework and find out about behavior patterns. And today, adolescence, those early childhood development years, are the most important in children. They're most important. And so if you don't take a hold of those things, they can quickly get out of control. So after I came back here to the United States in early, I found myself in a very difficult space of, am I American? Am I not American? Am I going to be accepted, not accepted? And I came in with a very strong accent back to the United States. And as an only child, an adopted child, kids came after me, basically. And so I did what I did, what I knew I would do, was basically fight. And that was throughout my teens, of defending myself, of constant fighting. And I did that going up to, I'd say probably in my early teens, got into that whole mode. And also, we weren't wealthy. So the financial hardship, just trying to create a stable environment for me with my mother at the time. And it was, it wasn't just because of the one initial adopted parent. It was a couple, two, three different divorces that went in that process. So just from 8 years old to about early teens, I had known to have had 3 fathers in that period of time. Now, I easily could have said, hey, oh, me or my, feel sorry for me, look at me and the hardship, and start blaming people. But I didn't take that route. I think probably faith in God probably helped me in that process. But it was very difficult from that, John. And going in through that, it wasn't until I had that office over at Sunset Gower Studios, or even before that, is I started writing that script, Flip Side. And I think for me was initially to try to figure out, who was I? And if there are people like me, if I'm like who I am, there's got to be other people like me as well. And that's when I started looking at doing the homework, and start looking about, why are there like 2 million people in prison today? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? So I wanted to have a clear understanding of what happens in adolescence and children. Why does some go this way, some go that way? And the hardship, the things that goes in between, was important for me to understand that, and kind of figure out where I came from, and to try to understand me. When I look in the mirror, what do I see? Who am I? And that was a big part of writing that script, Flip Side, was really to try to understand understand from it started from 4 years old to where I am in my 20s. What's the good? What's the bad? Where's the blame game? What have I done to better myself, versus taking and making excuses? What can I do to take the things that happen to me to turn bad into good? And so, because I had one choice, and to me, I just looked and said, well, I can go this way or this way. What choice do I have here? I want to have a good life, but at the end of the day, I need to work hard for it, or do I make excuses? And so I think seeing those kind of things, and that's when it just clicked for me. I said, look, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down my way. And I want to do everything possibly I can and leave it all out there, everything I got to do. So when I got into the entertainment industry and start working as a stuntman, that's one of the first things I said, look, this is not a place to be fearful. This is a place to be fearless. If you're going to go out there and do a scene, a fight sequence, you got to go all out. You can't baby this. You got to train, prepare, preparation, and execution. So those were some of the things to me, what I was able to take and gather and figure out how can I make sense of my past to create a positive future. So it really had to start with me having again, to just understand, what is Lou? What is that? So I think it just started with try not to make excuses, John, and learn, work hard, and if every single day, just to really put 150% with what I did, and just that sense of just never quit. So,
you covered a lot of good points, I think, for the audience. And obviously one is the choice, that you have a choice. You can go this way or you can go that way. And, for a lot of us, especially if you start on the bottom, like yourself or like myself, and for a lot of people who do start on the bottom, you always do have, people don't realize sometimes that they have a choice. They think they don't, but they always do. We all have a choice, and we can go in one direction or we can go in the other direction. At any moment, the choice we make will define us potentially forever, but at least partially, for a while. And you kind of had that point. And like I know in my life, sometimes you move in two directions at the same time. You're moving in a positive direction, part of you, but part of you still moving in a negative direction. And it's getting congruent with the positive direction that changes your life. So for you, what was, right before you get into the film industry, and then we'll pivot into the film industry period, what was going one way, the wrong way, and what was the thing that got you to go the right way? Was there that decisive moment for you, or a series of decisive moments?
Well, one thing that really helped is I got involved with sports, athletics. In high school, I played a year of basketball, but for the most part, I played 4 years of football and 4 years of baseball. So I went through athletics, and I think that really helped as far as out of the classroom mode onto the field and taking instructions from coaches. I didn't really have a father figure. So to me, those coaches became my father figure. And it was to me, it was an eye opener to see just this person, barking and taking it and that. And to me, that's what I needed. I needed that sergeant. I needed that Marine to sit there and just grind me, because that's what I needed to push me to kind of figure out what I was about, to kind of just shake those things out of me and kind of just figure a direction. So from high school, I ended up going to junior college, and I ended up playing football, and then eventually I ended up going to 4 year and playing baseball. So those pieces were a big part of it. I ended up, I think, some of my friends will argue that I was a better football player than baseball player, but and they might be watching today. But I think one of the big things, John, when I was making a transition from college to to the entertainment industry as a stuntman, was my lack of attention, lack of discipline, and just to finish through in my college career sports. I think that was the biggest thing. I wish I didn't quite have enough of a foundation for me to just focus from start to finish. All those sports allowed me to get a structure, allowed to get me some discipline. But I think that was one of the disappointments, because I had scouts. I had professional scouts there to give me their business card at the time, to pursue professional baseball. And I knew I could hit. I knew I had all the pieces that I needed to, but I did not take it with absolute discipline. So when that fell apart, as far as when I finished my college career, I basically sat back and said, how did I just let this thing go? I had an opportunity of a lifetime. How did I just let this thing just throw away? And so what I did basically then is regroup, and I said, okay, if I'm going to pursue a career in the entertainment industry, I cannot do things 50%. I cannot do things 75%. I need to prepare, and I need to go no matter what it takes. I cannot be at a situation of, well, I could have made it. I tried to make it. I didn't want that. I did not want to leave that behind, especially coming from the background. And that's one of the things I think, looking back, I said, wow, I went through all this craziness. How can I let this thing go? How can I let this particular dream fall apart when it was right in front of my face. And, hanging out with friends, while I could have been more in a weight room or on the field and hitting after practice. I could have done a lot more than those kind of things versus allowing this distraction get the best of me. So basically, after I got done with college, I started going into taking some acting classes and got into industry. And that's when I started learning a little bit more as far as emotions. And I started with the acting classes. I started tapping into that particular world as far as all the different emotions that goes with what we do as far as filmmakers, right? From crying to anger and how to get that out. I was an introvert for the most part. I was kind of shy, believe it or not. I would not get up and give a speech. Even in high school, I'd rather take an F versus getting in front of a class.
Same here, man. I identify 100%. Believe it or not, nobody can tell it right now about either one of us, but yes, indeed.
So it was a kick in the butt to say, okay, you didn't do this, you were shy, you're not doing this, you took this, whatever may happen, here you are. And it was push, and that was, I would say, the starting stage of getting me out of my comfort zone, of really going out there. And that's when I learned all the different things, starting with the entertainment industry. As far as writing, I was not a writer. I was probably the worst writer on the planet. That's for sure. Writing was don't even bother. Don't give me anything to write because it ain't going to happen. So, but reading scripts, learning what dialogue was all about, learning the foundation, learning all what makes a good story. I think all those things were such valuable things. And I was just a sponge, John, just to learn as many things as I can. And I had some good people around me to help support that as well.
Well, you going into a new, and like you say it right there, getting outside your comfort zone. And I think that's, besides making a choice, you made a choice. You kind of summed up that in college, if you had put in more work instead of being distracted, you might have went even further down that path. But that's sometimes what happens if we make the wrong choice and we get distracted or we go down the wrong path. It affects the potential for what we can accomplish. So once you got into the film industry, and I just put up your IMDb, which is your resume, which over 100 movies that you've been involved in all kinds of levels as a stunt coordinator. And like we talked earlier, you worked with me on the movie with Michael Madsen the first time we connected, and you were my stunt coordinator on that movie. But so you went down that path, and now you started to learn and you started to use your skill sets, in particular, in the field of being a stunt person, being a stunt coordinator, which for those who don't know is a very physical, risky, potentially risky. I mean, you try to keep it as safe. You try and keep people as safe as possible, but you're doing things that you're taking risks at all times. So you got to be somebody who's comfortable with risk taking, as opposed to somebody who's trying to stay in that comfort zone. So that's a little bit. So take us a little bit on that journey, and then I'm going to pivot over to some of the stuff of what you are doing today. But before you do that, I'm going to throw up a picture because, just for the audience, I didn't tell Lou this because I was like, I had to surprise him. He didn't always look this way before he met me and we worked on a movie. This was another point of, this is Lou from another lifetime.
That's what I have. That's my good side, John. Right? That's what
You've come a long way from that moment, man. I'm telling you. But Lou has done so many different things in his life, and obviously that was just one of the more interestingly looking things that he did. But tell us a little bit about Lou. Or ones that maybe stand out, some of the more challenging ones or interesting ones for people who don't know what the world of stunt work, stunt coordinating, precision driving, all the stuff you've done.
Well, look, the world as a stuntman is all calculated risk. You're not there to be a daredevil. You're there to do the work. You're there to do a professional job, and you're here to get home safely. And as a stunt coordinator, your job is to get everybody home safely. It's a career. But the mindset of a stuntman is you can't go out there and do anything 50%. If you start thinking about doing things 50%, this is not for you. Don't do it. But it's all about preparation. It really is. Whether you're preparing to drive, doing car chases, where you're doing a fight sequence, you're doing a stair fall or fire burn, you have to know what you're doing. You cannot go out there and say, well, I'm going to get paid. I'll learn on the set. It's not the time to learn when you're out there performing a job and 100% with the emotions that goes behind it and all the safety. So for me, I never looked at a job was one easier than the other. I really never did, because things can change, as you know, on the set. We're going to do things a little differently. We're going to change this. We're going to do a little different angle. And it's not one time, and all of a sudden you're doing 15 takes from different angles and different cameras. And every single time you better hit your mark at the same time, the same punch, the same fall. So all those particular things are really critical when it talks about doing those things on a daily basis. Whether you're there for 8 hours or you're there for 17 hours, you have to have the mindset to going in, and that's that fearless, that's that courageous sequence. The picture you just showed up was actually from the show Fear the Walking Dead. And one of actually the first time I ever worked on that show was with my good friend Nito, who actually lives in Irvine. He's a stuntman, stunt coordinator. And we met at the train station, and we got on the train, and I had no idea he lived in Irvine. So that was another story. We rode the train to Rosarita Beach, and we performed a stunt sequence where we come off a two-story platform over the railing onto the floor. I bite off somebody's nose, bite off somebody's finger. I gouge out my eyes. I get my eyes gouged out, and that was a long day. That was just part of that day. And so what's interesting about those kind of things, John, is I don't necessarily remember so much about all the different gags, but it's really about the people that I've interacted with more so than any. But that picture, remember that. Did a scene on SWAT with jumping out of a helicopter, fast roping. I remember that was a little bit of kind of a butterfly effect in my gut, only because somebody got injured the take before. And so I was like the second team to go into the helicopter and got briefed in a helicopter before the action took place. So, but every scene is really unique itself, and in its 20 plus years, I've lost some friends in the process from the stunt community, which we're all pretty tight. We all pretty much know each other, and it's never a good day when anybody gets injured, and certainly when a life is lost as well. And that's been a process. That's part of the reality of that happens. And I've got hurt once in New Mexico, dropping off a ledge by 20 feet, busted my shoulder, and that happened when my daughter was a few months old, and that was her first trip to New Mexico, and seeing Daddy in the sling. But nevertheless, we pulled through, had some morphine that night, and then the next day went and we did a little fire burn with a busted shoulder. So, the show has to go on, and we get through it. But look, I've been blessed to be here, healthy, 20 plus years. Here I am talking to you today. So
I'm gonna throw up a couple of the movies that we worked on, but what you're saying, all that, because then I want to pivot to the stuff that's going on today to really get into that. But one of the things I remembered on that first movie that we worked to, and why we connected and we became friends and we continued to work together, but also be deeper than just people who worked on a movie as a stunt coordinator, was I appreciated that you were quiet, you were a leader, and you were about solving problems and coming up with solutions. And you just had that attitude that no matter what the problem was going to be, you were going to find a solution, and you were going to do it in a calm and leadership way, not in somebody who was going to get all emotional or create drama and do all that stuff that unfortunately too many people in the film industry do. So you weren't that guy, and you were the guy who I knew that you'd have everybody's back, and we could have your back, and that you were going to make it work every time. So that's why I was honored to have worked with you that time and open up that door to create that relationship. We went on to work on. I'm just going to throw up a couple of quick movie pictures. This was Wasabi Tuna, which was the last movie that Anna Nicole Smith worked in before she passed away, unfortunately. and we worked on that. And then we did another one, Left Behind, Left in Darkness, excuse me,
Mhm.
Left in Darkness that we did. And then we also did just recently, the most recent one was Paradise Cove,
Mhm.
that you did. And this is a picture with us, with the director Martine Gigi and the AD hanging behind us being funny. So that was, so we've done a series of movies, and we've, crossed paths on so many other ways as well. But that's a
We
little.
we did one more that you didn't mention. This poster right behind us over here. This
Ah,
was December 20th, 2009. It was a commercial that we did, and you came out and you volunteered your time and your efforts, and all as a producer to help us produce this commercial for Rosemary's Children's Services, which was for neglected and children who's been abused sexually. So, so that was huge. In fact, your daughter was in there as well, and I think it was with her pony. Is that right?
no, she was on
Uh-huh.
the baseball field, but she was riding at the time. She was
That's right. That's
she
right.
was an equestrian, and she was riding.
Equestrian gear. That's right.
Yeah, so equestrian gear, and I acted in it for you. I helped you with it, and like you said, it was a public service announcement for a nonprofit, and that was so cool because you were volunteering your time, I volunteered mine, and that was the other spirit that you mentioned earlier too. It's which is going to lead to what you do today, but it's that spirit of serving others and being of service to make things better for others. And you're right. Thank you for reminding me of that, because that was the kind of in some ways better than all the other ones, because it was about doing something good for people, and that was something that you created.
There you are, right there. You're in that picture. There you are, right there with the crew. First AD, and there's Maddie and the special effects person. There you are, right there. You're basically telling me, Lou, you can't do that. You got to do this shot.
Yeah, hey, it was a good time, and we've gone on to, I'll just throw up some other pictures. We've gone on to do some stuff together, and this was a picture of an event. Whoops, I keep hitting it too fast, that we went to, and this was a picture of us all dressed up, looking better than his monster look, and that's just another picture of us as well. So pretty cool stuff. We've done a bunch of things, but what I like to do, because we got about a half hour, and I really want to get us caught up, and the audience caught up to what you're doing today, because you're still working, you're still writing, you're still producing, you're still doing the film stuff, you're still doing the stunt coordinating stuff, but you've also once again pivoted into another field, and it started with you. Obviously, your love of sports, your love of softball, coaching teams, girls softball teams, coaching your daughter, and then creating a reality series of girls softball called Game Ready. So why don't you tell us about that pivot and a little bit about that, because I think that takes us to some, once again, stuff that you're doing today, but making such a special contribution for these young women's lives. So why don't you start to share that with the audience, and then I'll put up a couple of pictures as we do that.
Sure. Playing baseball all these years and playing college baseball, and then I have my daughter, I wasn't so up as far as what happens with female sports, and especially with softball. So when Maddie started playing softball, and when she started getting, I think this was her first year 12U travel ball team, and she was involved, I started hearing a lot of parents talk about college scholarships. And she must have been in 7th grade, 8th grade, somewhere around that world, 6th grade, 6th to 7th grade. And I couldn't understand why they were talking about college scholarship when these kids weren't even in high school. So back then, the rules were basically you could get a college scholarship as early as 7th grade, 8th grade. Now it's gone into your junior year in high school. And I just thought, well, this is interesting. That opened up a whole new world for me, John, where I'm like, okay, so a lot of these parents are out here not just to play the sport, but they're all trying to get scholarships. So the more I looked into this, I thought, wow, okay, so what is the percentage of these girls getting scholarships in college and for a full ride? And it's like 2%. I found it's like 2%. And it actually was a thing going around. It's like you're the 2%er. And I'm like, 2%? I go, we can just go to Vegas. There's a better percentage. So wow. What is all this? So when I started looking at it, I thought, wow, what an underdog story. These kids are getting up at 5 a.m. and they're playing a game. They're traveling an hour and a half. they're playing games at 8 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes they're not done until sunset. And they're doing this every single weekend. And then during the weekday, they have workouts. And from pitching lessons, hitting lessons, fielding lessons, hitting, I mean, all these different things. I thought, wow, what is this? So it started through seeing this process and seeing how much my daughter is into this world. Is this something she wants to do? Is she motivated? Is she passionate? And that's something that my wife and I have always checked on her and said, hey, are you having fun at this? Do you enjoy this? We never were the parents that ever forced Maddie to play in any kind of sport. We just offered it to her. She played tennis. She also danced. So it was a thing for her. She says, Dad, I like this. And so I said, okay, well, let's keep going. And it wasn't until probably when she continued to make her move and joined the Bat Busters, when I started knowing another different level of training and the coaching staff and just how that went. I thought, wow, look at there's so many, and there were so many stories. People would literally fly out of state to come to Orange County over a weekend to practice and play and fly back on Sunday night.
Wow.
Or take a 2.5, 3 hour drive to the field and a 3 hour drive back home on a Saturday. And I just thought, and all this is for 2% to get a scholarship. So that's when the Game Ready concept really began. And I talked to a lot of people in the industry of raising funding and developing, and just like, we got to tell this story. This story has to be told somehow, some way. And so within that process, I got great support from people like Brent Denayo, who's the owner of Explosion, Mike Stitz is the owner of Bat Busters, and people like Marty Tyson, Dave Mercado, and these individuals really came out and lent a hand and trusted me to tell a good story of what this world was all about, of these kids competing for a scholarship by just playing and going all out and willing to share every effort they have. And just that word, courageously, fearlessly. I saw this in them. And I thought, wow, look at this. And I think this goes back to a little bit about me, of how I started, was just seeing me through them and seeing what they do, of just the relentless of not quitting, not giving up. And I just said, this is a story I have to do. I have to do this. And so I did. And I got support from, you came out, a friend named Richard Martin came out and offered his services for free, and he lives about 2 hours away. And so with the support of these organizations, like I said, Bat Busters, Dave Mercado, Marty Tyson, Brett Denayo, these people offered the support for me, just access to go ahead and have the cameras rolling and tell a good story. And we're very fortunate to be able to put these things together, and it's been received well. So.
Well, I'm going to show in a minute a video of Game Ready that you did from your YouTube series, and then you can talk a little bit about it. But I just want to, tell you, and once again, speaking about living courageously and dealing with fear, that a good part of this was happening during the whole COVID pandemic, during, the earlier time, 2020, 2021. And I remember personally, when you asked me to help support you and get involved with this, and you were putting the series together, you were going to do a live streaming of one of the games out in Temecula. And I had just worked, I had promised you I was coming, and I had just worked a 14-hour day on a movie set. And I was exhausted overnight. I have to mention overnight. And so after 14 hours, I drove 2 hours to Temecula and then watched you guys as you put on this game and live stream this game with these young women. And I had never been to a young women's softball thing, and it was during COVID. And I just was blown away, Lou, by you, by everybody, one, by the leadership, the courage, how great they were playing. I was like, God, I didn't play that good when I was a kid. I had nowhere close. I mean, these were real pro softball players, these young women, and just so determined and so passionate. And it was so inspiring. And I ended up doing a 22-hour day before I finally got to go to sleep, but I had so much adrenaline going through me, and they just raised the adrenaline level just watching them. So I'm going to play this little short trailer that you put together, and then you can come back and talk about it.
Before you do, can I do
Yes,
a couple of things?
of course.
So Game Ready started, I have to say, this probably went back to my kid was probably 14 years old when I started trying to develop the series, talking to him, and it just never happened. It took probably about 3 years after I started probably communicating with these coaches and talent to finally get the cameras rolling. And Game Ready series actually was filmed in around 2019, 2018, 19 area. When you came out was actually a whole showcase that we were doing with
Okay.
cameras because of the lockdowns, but it was with the same, almost the same organizations that had supported from back 2014, 2015, 2016. So it just carried on to those process. But again, it's a testimony to what these coaches are doing and support to these girls for you to see the talent that you've seen as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I'll play this, and then we'll talk a little bit further about that, and then lead into the next thing that you're working on right now. So here we go.
Let's get more aggressive to the ball. We're all kind of pausing here.
I was prepared that it was going to be hard. As the season progressed, you learn that it's a lot harder than you think.
And you're going the wrong way. No, dang it.
I've had a lot of bad experiences where we might have lost the game because of something that I've done.
The throw to hit the ball now is in second. You gotta make a cuttable throw.
Not only was I not on Mike's team, my parents were getting a divorce.
I don't need 1 foot on the dock and 1 foot in the boat. I need a commitment.
I've had like high expectations to me, so I just want to please
your ass all year for this time. Not to get lazy.
Definitely rough. A lot of people think that it's the easiest thing in the world.
To have someone that is close to you and supporting you doing the opposite.
What would you give the pain on a scale, 1 to 10?
Like a 7.
So it's pretty good.
Yeah, so that was season 1. You can watch it on YouTube. But like you started that once again, and what I just want to stress is like, and then you continued it wasn't the exact same series, but you continued working with these girls during the pandemic and playing the games, and because they were still struggling to go to get to college, like you meant, to get scholarships. And the pandemic made it even harder. It was hard enough, like you said, the 2% to be able to get that opportunity. And then the pandemic was trying to shut down so much of that. And these kids and their families continued to fight through that and continued to play and continued to struggle to succeed. So it was just very inspiring to be there in person and watch that level of inspiration and passion among these kids and their parents to overcome whatever life was throwing at them, and they did it. And to you for setting it up and not giving up and continuing to say, let's go, let's make it happen. So share a little bit more, and then we're going to move into what your latest effort is as well.
Well, again, during the pandemic, it was very, very difficult, as we know, and there was a lot of confusion, a lot of disappointment, a lot of things that happened during the time. But regardless, when these kids are been competing for so many years, and this was their moment to try to continue to allow a college coach to see them, because at the time nobody could come out, could travel in person at these locations, any location to come see in person. So the only way we could do it was do live streaming. And so I remember when they asked about doing live streaming, I said, well, if we're going to do live streaming, let's do it, let's do it. And so I think at one point we had 8 cameras with replays and all the pieces that goes with it to make it happen. And so I'm certainly no live streaming expert, but being in the production world, I just knew if we're going to put anything out there, let's go 100%. And so it was something I was committed to do and say, yes, let's do this. And then I'll figure out the issues I need to deal with after I hung up the phone. What's the problems we need to solve, And so again, though, it's who came out again? Richard Martin. You came out. And again, it's the consistency of doing for others. I think what just helps drive all this, John. I just I think learning as we continue to learn about ourselves and just take those chances. And that's what I just knew. Again, people have supported Lou. And so if there was an opportunity to serve to help these kids out, let's do it. Let's do it unconditional. And let's do it the best to our abilities and not take any shortcuts. Whether it was 2 hours away from Orange County and you drove out, again, you had a 14-hour day on set and you came out to way out there. And it's not like you were going to take a camera. You didn't have to do that. You could have just asked a phone call. Hey, Lou, how's it going? But it goes to your effort of who you are. And I think as a testament to see what these girls do, it just be silly for me, if there's an opportunity to take them to that next level, to just offer another open door, to leave it closed. And so that's where that began with the whole live streaming things. And as the pandemic came around, and again, I got a couple calls from a couple college coaches to say, hey, Lou, we need to do something for these athletes, these college athletes. And mentally, there's some hardships, some hard times some are going through with these lockdowns and not be able to get out and play. Can we do something? Can we create something in the summer in California? There's nothing out here for these players to do. And I said, absolutely. Hung up the phone, and I really just said, oh my goodness, I just hung up the phone. We're in lockdowns. I have no field. I have nothing. And I said, yes, and we're in April, and we're supposed to do this in 2 months. How is that going to happen? So, but it happened.
It did happen.
It happened.
Testimony to your courage, but also your make it happen attitude. That you didn't know how you were going to do it, but you committed. You made a decision. You said, I got to step up. I got to lead. I got to do it, and then you found a way. And even watching you when I was there running the live streaming, it was, man, so many moving pieces. And the thing was that things were going wrong and things were getting challenging, but you were like solving it and making the best of it, because your vision, Lou, was bigger than the little things. Your vision was, what are you creating for these girls? What are you creating for their future? What are you inspiring them for? And that's what was coming across. And so, I much props to you, man, for what you did, especially during that time, but all the way through.
Well, going back, John, when you brought me as a stunt coordinator, you didn't really know me, and so you took a shot. You trusted that I would do a good job, and so I have never forgotten that. At the same time, I know if I step foot, somebody believes in me. There's nothing short of 110%, because that's just the way it is. And preparation is everything, and that's one thing that I've learned from some producers coming up. Say, hey, Lou, preparation is everything. Preparation is everything. Remember that. It's number one thing. And so I never forgot that. I never forgot that from some of the stunt coordinator friends. And I'm going to mention them out, Dennis Matalone, Mark McCarty, and some of these James Arnett. These are some of the guys that I've known for a number of years and have supported me as well, So I'm very thankful for them. But I think at the end of the day is what I wanted to do, knowing what the sport is, even our industry, right? The mental aspects of our business, just that mental strength, right? As far as what we do in our career, but also what I wanted to do for this new summer league program that started in 21 was our first season. 22 this summer was our second, and now we're going to approach our third season this coming summer. Was something that I wanted to start with a mental approach of, why am I having a summer program as opposed just put a field, then go play, right? I wanted something a little bit more, and that's the same thing I threw to them in the very first year, was what was asked of me. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? I wanted them to understand themselves more when they play softball. And there's just so many different pieces we can go into this, of what a college expectation is as a college athlete, and what are their expectations playing at that particular sport, right? So as a sport itself, I wanted to offer different things. A place where they go in and just take a deep breath, and enjoy the game they play. A place where they can go know who they are. A place where they can build themselves mentally, spiritually, and also physically. So it's a lot of things I wanted to do by just, hey, let's have a softball field, let's play games, and let's just go for it. You know, I wanted to kind of break it down a little more to what is it are we really doing in the summer league? Is it just games? Or when they walk in and the minute they walk out, are they better than when they walked in? Mentally, physically, spiritually. Can we push that button to create that foundation, not only for here, but for a lifelong lesson, a lifelong situation? So that's how the league really was founded on.
Well, you know, as you know so well, I mean, sports is such a powerful thing in the development of young people. And I know even in my life, I didn't play organized sports except for like one night season on a basketball team. But I played street ball. I dropped out of high school when I was 15. So, but those two things, sports, basketball, and 2 years of kung fu, basically gave me the gift to go down the right path instead of the wrong path. A lot of my friends ended up in jail, heroin, addiction, all kinds of things. But for me, playing basketball and doing kung fu gave me a mentality, a mindset, all kinds of things that made me who I am today, made me a leader. If it wasn't for those two things, I would have been a different person. And now organized sports even takes it to a much better level and gives you so much more because you're being coached, you're playing team, you all those things that you know why you created this league. So and then especially for young women, it's such a powerful thing during going through that period. But, you know, having done all you did so far with Game Ready, then you took it and just recently took it to another level so that you could even make it more effective, and you formed a nonprofit. So tell us a little bit about that and start taking us through the new thing. And I'm going to play one more video of the 2023 coming up Summer League that you're putting together that goes along with that nonprofit. But it's so important what you're doing, touching these young women's lives. And it's not about just sports. It's about everything, leadership, career, future, you name it. You're giving them all those skill sets that's going to make them successful in life. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this, again, I know I touched base a little bit on it, but this came really, I was standing in a hotel room overlooking Oregon State softball field on the 21 season. I think it might have been in March, maybe April, and I was talking to her college softball coach, and she was basically saying, hey, there's some of our kids that we're seeing around Orange County, some of the programs going through depression. They're just not themselves with the pandemic. We need to create a program. Can we do this? And you know, after we finished the conversation, I just went and started. I said yes. And so at that point, and that's where I kind of said, okay, this is great, but what are we, like, what are we doing? And that goes back to, and that's one of the big things when we start doing prepping for a film, right? We start looking into, okay, what are we doing? What's the stunt scene? How is it going to work? How much money we have? What does the director want? Producer, how does it do this? All those pieces that goes with that. So I kind of went into that mode. I kind of say, well, if I'm going to create something and do something, can I put 150% energy knowing that if I start, I'm not going to stop, you know? And that was a big thing. It's like, what is that foundation? And softball has been great. Let me go back. Softball has been great with the ratings, with the fanfare. It has certainly done a tremendous positive thing in the marketplace today. And it starts back from very young. It starts from all those travel coaches. It starts from all those things that's built and help these kids out to get them where they want to be. But with that as well comes a mental understanding at the college level. Can they handle the pressures of the game at that college level? Okay. Academics, things that happen off the field, on the field itself. And so I wanted to create that other piece as well, where during summer, they can come out here, whether they're freshman or senior, they can compete, but understand themselves on a mental side. How do you deal with pressure? How do you handle those things? You know, even technical things as far as, you know, you're at the plate, those type of things, or defensive things as well. So we offered all those type of things to be able to help them grow on the mental side. And so it started that, but I wanted to come up with a slogan as well, just to get them to kind of just take a deep breath and slow some things down. Oh, let me show you real quick here. So this is what I did. This is the back of our shirts, the little things. So this is something that we put in the back of our shirts just for them to then understand what are the little things are you doing for you to be the best student athlete you can be when you're at college. What are those distractions? Where are the moments are you present every single day at practice or at the plate, at the games? So those are some of the things that we do during summer. And what's been incredible from season 1, we've had these players come back for season 2. We've even had some players that graduated college and asked, hey, can I still play? I want to still play for you guys. It's been so much fun. And so you hope, like every movie, you hope it's success. You hope it's received well. And I have to say, it's gone very, very well of what we're doing. But again, this comes with support. This comes from people who believed in what this was. And what's great about it, I've seen kids they were 10 years old playing in the City League. Now they're in college, and I'm seeing them over summertime. So just seeing familiar faces as well from 9, 10 years old with their parents showing up and their kids are 20 years old now has been truly, truly fascinating for this approach. So the nonprofit came into existence this year. We got approved for nonprofit status. And however good this is with our creating the softball league and the summer league, there's expenses. And it just costs us a lot of money. And I did not want to put this cost to the student athlete. I didn't want to do it, and I'm not going to do it. They've gone through a lot. Their families have gone through a lot to get to a college. And so I just didn't think that was the right thing to do. And the fields cost thousands of dollars. Insurance and balls and all those things, uniforms, they cost. And so we had to create basically a nonprofit with the hopes of getting donations and getting sponsorships to be able to roll out the red carpet for these athletes because they truly deserve it. And so that's the goal.
So I'm going to play this video about, and so you created the nonprofit. You're looking at having a season potentially with 8 teams this summer, a summer league with 8 teams, and you're looking at getting sponsorships and donations to be able to make it so it's not on the backs of the kids and their families. So that's the goal. And once again, one of the things you said twice now, the first time when you started this and the second time, is you said yes. And that's where it all starts. You say yes to something, even though you don't know how you're going to do it. You don't know how it's going to work out, but you start with yes, and then you go for it and you figure it out. And so that's to your credit to do that. So I'm going to play this video, and then we'll talk a little bit about how people can help with referrals, connections for sponsorships, any way that people can. And let me just play this video for the upcoming season.
It wasn't long ago when we dreamed of playing college softball, discovering our capabilities at an early age to embrace challenges. For today's brave new world with a fearless attitude, enabling us to empower others. As doctors, marketing experts, teachers to community leaders, this is The League.
I love to compete. I am in love with the sport. I've been playing it my whole life. My master's degree, because I want to become a nurse.
Up at sunrise. Blood, sweat, and tears in the game that we play. Trained more than 10 years for this college degree. Want to keep our game alive. Sun is gone now. No more games to play. You can turn dreams into a reality.
Together? Together! 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 We can make a difference.
Wow, very cool video, man. And you're right. Join the team, support GameReadyEnterprises.com. I'm going to put up the places that people can contact you, reach out. I'm involved. I just have to, mention Lou asked me to be on the board as well, so I am on the board of the nonprofit. So thank you, Lou, and I'm there to help support this. So whatever we can do to kind of get sponsorship, whether it's from sports or apparel companies or any kind of company that wants to help provide these women with the opportunities to become leaders in not just sports, but in all aspects of their life in the future. And this is a chance to be part of the team and be able to create that. So why don't you take it from there? Tell me what people can do, what else they can do, obviously, and we'll put up your contact information as we close out the show, where people can reach you, people can reach me. I'll connect them with you as well. But go ahead, take it from there and see what else people can do.
One thing I want people to understand is what we're doing as well. You've heard a little blurb in that video of, wanting to be a doctor, wanting to be, marketing and lawyer and all these things. So one of the things that we're doing is we're taking the student athlete and their major and what they graduate with. We're trying to connect them to a resource, to a company that they're looking to further to get into a career. So that's one of the things that we're looking to do, is connect the student athlete with their job opportunity for career opportunity, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a sports marketing, hospitality, whatever it may be. That's one of the things we're looking to connect. And as a student athlete, I have to tell you, all they know is how to work hard. From weightlifting at 6 a.m. To doing homework till midnight. That's the life of a student athlete, what they go through for these 4 years, and then even some when they go into graduate. So I want them to have a clear understanding of what they're getting. As a softball player, you're also getting the whole family. That's the sponsor situation that comes with that. But hey, we're, as far as sponsorship donations, you can go to our website. My email is there. It's GameReadyEnterprises.com. We are always looking for donations for softballs. Obviously, the field rental cost is extreme. It goes anywhere from $4,000 to $18,000, and those are different locations. There is uniform costs. Those are some of the things. Anybody wants to contact me and wants to support, which obviously we can have a conversation about that. Live stream is obviously very important for us that we want to do. There's a lot of kids looking to transfer, and they're getting a transfer portal. So to showcase them to all the college coaches, we have to have cameras rolling, and obviously we want them to be professional. So with respect for them. So those are some of the things there. Did I answer your questions there, John?
I think you did. So once again, GameReadyEnterprises.com. I'm going to put up the thing once again, just so you can see it right here. This is where you can go on YouTube, Game Ready Enterprises. You can go to the website, which is GameReadyEnterprises.com. You can check it out. Louis C. Simon on Facebook, and you can also check out on Twitter. So you have that way. But definitely reach out. And once again, to sum it all up, here's a way. I love the slogan of the T-shirt, the little things. It's reminding, and it's not just for them, it's for all of us. It's those little things in life that make us better, make us greater, make us live up to our potential as to what we can be. It's putting in the work and doing that. And I think the inspiration of these young women is an inspiration for all of us. And you're creating that path for them with this nonprofit. So if anybody has contacts, referrals, anything that they can do, reach out to Lou, reach out to me. Please share that stuff so we can it's this year is the summer league, but there'll be more stuff. That's the beginning. And obviously Lou has been at this for a long time now, and he just keeps on overcoming the challenges, man.
With Game Ready, we're talking to some companies about looking to create a season 2 with the Game Ready, with the reality series. We've had some foreign production company out of London that's looking to take this internationally as well. They've been very interested about some buyers. So we are not always looking at Game Ready to do things Game Ready, whether it's the Game Ready or take our league, the league here, and create a Game Ready series out of that one as well. So any questions you have about student athletes, what softball is all about, for those that don't know what softball, I'll be glad to talk to them about it and what these student athletes are all about. There's some of our players right there from one of our teams, Integrity. In fact, our names of our teams are integrity, leadership, fearless, empowered. Those are some of the names of our teams. And so, again, it starts with that foundation, right? And so I want them to continually be inspired, every one of these players, and they have what it takes to believe in themselves, be fearless, and do it with integrity, right? The leadership that they presume as well, that they have. So now, with everything we've gone through in this hour, John, some people may think, wow, he just does this without, any fear. Trust me, it's scary, because it's the unknown. And that's, people, that's the thing. When people are watching games, whether it's football, everybody has butterflies. Everybody, of course, wants to go through a whole journey of just unblemished, no issues. But understand the issues that you have, falling down, getting up, getting scraped up a little bit, it's just going to make you tougher. You're just going to learn from those things. And just don't be afraid to not having all the answers in front of you, because you're not going to have all the answers in front of you, and you never will. And that's okay. But that's where you start chipping away at it. Yes, it's scary. Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. Going to season 3, there's a lot of things I want to accomplish, a lot of things we want to accomplish, and we will. Things will happen the way it's supposed to happen, but we just can't stop. So.
And, with that is, like you said, sports is such a great metaphor for life in so many different ways, because like you said, you fall down, you get scraped, you get back up. Yeah, of course you have fear, but you do it anyway. You do it in the face of the fear, not that you don't have any fear. And, the thing is, you win some, you lose some. And when you lose, that just makes you more determined to play harder, to learn, to do the little things so you're better, so that you win next time. And at the end of the day, the one thing you don't do is you never give up. You just never give up. And I think that's a testimony. And thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all this stuff, your journey, Lou, and what you're doing. And I hope we can find a way to support this even further. But that's what it's about. You've been somebody who hasn't given up, and you continue to find a way and overcome whatever challenges that get thrown at you. So I'm honored and I'm blessed to call you my brother and have you part of this. So thank you so much for being part of the show. Any final thoughts you want to finish up with?
I just want to thank for all those out there who are living their lives courageously. When we're dealing with sports here, I just want to thank all those coaches out there, from the East Coast to the West Coast, who are out there continually helping these girls, getting it to college with their training. I know sometimes the jobs that they do isn't is a thankless job half the time, and don't get that, but people are seeing you, and please understand that all the hundreds and thousands of kids you guys put into college, it's received, and no one has forgotten that. John, Duffy, thank you for your support. People like you and Pavlina, who a producer friend of mine out there in Georgia, to Mark Riccardi, to Terry Leonard, these individuals who have supported me as well. I'm very humbled by it. So, John, you've gone through some craziness. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't meant to be. So I've seen your journey as well, and I'm encouraged by what you do as well. So always know that what you do and what you say and your actions is feeding off from you to me as well. So, and I appreciate that. So.
Well, I appreciate that. And also a shout out to the other board members who I just met recently, Stephen, Burnett, and Vanessa as well, who are making this happen. So just a shout out to them. And basically, once again, everybody, I'm going to put up, thank you, Lou. Thank you, everybody who's watched this live and everybody who's going to watch it on replay. You can watch it on my YouTube channel, John Duffy, Live Courageously. And I think both of us, encourage you, never give up, live courageously in your life, and look forward to, if I don't know you and you're not coming on one of my next shows, meeting you and then bringing you on another show. So live your life with courage. And thank you, Lou. And you have a fantastic, and look forward to making this happen.
Come out and see us this summer. You're going to love it. Come out and see us.
Indeed. Right. And you don't need to do a 14-hour to get there. I'm just saying,
Yes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Look us up. Come see us. I guarantee you'll have a blast. So think of it. It's like a college all-star games.
Oh, you'd be blown away. It's some of the most amazing, exciting sports stuff you can imagine. All right, Lou, have a great, fantastic. I look forward to helping you. Take care, brother.
Bye-bye.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to put up the information for Lou right here. This is where you can reach him, Game Ready Enterprises on YouTube. You can also watch the series of Game Ready that he did previously, and hopefully we'll have another season coming up this year. The Summer League, the original Southern California Collegiate Softball League for women, and you can check that out at GameReadyEnterprises.com. All right. Thank you, everybody. Here's my information. You can reach me on the YouTube, Live Courageously with John Duffy. You can obviously find me on Facebook, Duffy Square. You can find me on Instagram, Duffy Square Film, or Duffy Square on Facebook, and Duffy Square Film on Instagram. And I'll be doing a lot. This is the first show of this year. I've done 15 last year. I look forward. I got a list of 40 to 50 friends who are just amazing people that I look forward to interviewing this year, and then even building upon that. So as I finish up the show, thank you everybody who's watched, and I just challenge you to choose faith over fear and live courageously in 2023. See you soon.